Some English sentences look right, feel right, but grammatically they are wrong. And in this video, I'm going to show you examples of sentences that you may think are right, but native speakers would never use. First, when we're reporting advice. When someone tells us something and then we report it to someone else, we often use phrases like these. She told me. He advised me. They warned us. So you have the reporting verb told, advised and warned, and then the person that the advice was directed to, me or us. Now that works with a lot of these verbs, but not these ones. We cannot say they explained me or she said me. Instead, we have to say they explained something to me or she said something to me. Now, why the grammatical difference? It's because verbs focusing on the listener are followed by an indirect object, but verbs focusing on what was said are not. Told implies something is directed at another person. She told makes us think, well, who? She told me. But explained doesn't have to be like that. You can explain something generally. It doesn't have to be directed at another person specifically. Another mistake people sometimes make is in this situation. Look at this choir. And it would be perfectly fine to describe the choir like this. The choir is singing Christmas songs, sometimes called carols. But how about this? The choir are singing Christmas songs. Well, this would be unusual. Why is that? It's because when the noun describes the collective group, we use the singular form of the verb. But when the noun focuses on the individuals in a group, that's when you use the plural. So the choir is singing Christmas songs. Now, the choir is made up of many people, but it's a collective group, so treat it as a singular, not as a plural. How would we have made the second one plural? Well, we could have said the lead singer in the choir is singing Christmas songs, because that would focus on one individual within the choir. Another mistake sometimes comes with this situation. This picture is showing a brain and someone who's very clever. If that's you, and it's referred to your use of English language, then you could correctly say, I have a good grasp of English. But could you say, I have a good knowledge of English? Well, no. Instead, you'd need to just simply say, I have good knowledge of English. To get this right, you need detailed and advanced understanding of uncountable nouns, because in English, we usually don't use the indefinite article, that's a or un, with uncountable nouns like knowledge. We would never say, I have a knowledge. But with some nouns, we switch to countable when they are used specifically. And these include nouns such as understanding or grasp or appreciation. There are others too, and you need to learn them all to reach a high level of English. Grasp is one of them. I have a good grasp of English. We can't normally count grasp. We can't say 1 grasp, 2 grasps, 3 grasps. Grasp normally refers to an understanding of a particular area. But once we add in that particular area, or we imply a particular area that it refers to, then it becomes countable. Because it's of English, I have a good grasp of that particular subject. What did you used to do when you were a child? Did you think of any of these things? Did you dream of becoming these things? Maybe when you think back to your studies as a child, you could come up with sentences like these. Now, the first one, I used to study every day, and the second one, I would study every day, and the third one, I used to be the best in the class, are all correct. But the fourth one has a problem. We cannot say, I would be the best in the class. And this is because we don't use would for past states. The first two examples, I used to study every day, I would study every day, focuses on past actions that happened habitually. And we can use used to or would for these. But in the second two, we're talking about a state in the past. I used to be the best in the class. This was this person's general position in the class, the general understanding of who that person was. Use used to, but not would. Here's a car mechanic. It would be fairly normal to say the car was repaired by a mechanic. But can you say the mechanic repaired the car by a screwdriver? Well, no, you can't. Instead, you have to say either of these. The mechanic repaired the car with a screwdriver, or the mechanic repaired the car by using a screwdriver. Why is this? Well, we use by for who did the action. So the first one is correct. The car was repaired by a mechanic. Then we use by to describe the action itself. So the last one is correct. The mechanic repaired the car by using a screwdriver. The action was using a screwdriver. So by is okay here. But we use with if we're describing the item used. So the third one is correct. The mechanic repaired the car with a screwdriver, but not the second one because we don't use by with the item used. The screwdriver is the item used. So use with, but not by. Have you ever been in a test and you just didn't know the answer to any of the questions? Or perhaps you only knew the answer to one or two of the questions and there are 20 of them. You might say this at the end of it. I hardly answered any questions. And here, hardly refers to not many. Nearly nothing. But could you say this? I hardly tried my best. Well, no, this would not be natural. Instead, you should say, I didn't try my best. Now, why the difference here? It's because we don't use hardly with phrases that are difficult to quantify. Because hardly has the meaning of nearly nothing or not many, we have this idea of something we can count. If you say, I hardly answered any questions, well, you can count that. Hardly may mean 1 or 2 questions out of 20. But try my best is not something that you count. It's usually something that either you do or you don't do. So hardly is not appropriate here. Instead, didn't try my best would work better. Now, learning all of these rules will help you with your English writing, and you can improve your English writing further by taking my course, Improve Your English Writing. And that will help you get ready for using English properly in 2026. You could join and start the course right now by clicking in the link in the video description below me.